while since I've done one of these. Checking up on myself every once in a while, seeing what I look like in the camera because it changes, you know. If you look back to the very first video I made, it definitely looks different, feels different.
Um, I'm trying to push myself outside of my comfort zone as usual.
You can see like energy shift and how your mood and what's going on in your life can reflect out onto camera or into the world. But I wanted to talk about blogging and how I'm addicted to blogging. I've been blogging for like 6 or 7 years now. Just the whole process has been just a chance for me to look at myself and to figure out a lot of stuff that it's easy to avoid, easy to overlook because it's uncomfortable and because there's nothing pushing you to look at it. But when you sit with yourself every day and you look at your motivations and everything, you learn a lot. I told myself recently that I don't have to blog every day, but every single day I find that there's something I want to write about, or that the process of just sitting down to think of what topic to talk about really helps me to put everything into focus and to figure out what's important to me at that moment. When I started blogging, it was kind of a challenge to think of all these topics to talk about. But, as I dug deeper and deeper and I started to get into a flow and I started to get comfortable with stream of consciousness and to channel that in a way that would be a little more accessible to other people. So it wasn't just random thoughts with no context. I could provide the context in the process of sharing what just came out naturally. It's really like it's like peeing, you know. it's it's uh it's detoxifying all these thoughts that are in my head. It helps me to organize them really well. I can sit down and I can sometimes no topic comes right away, but I like sitting there and trying to write in that state because rather than force it, I've decided that I'm not going to write about something that doesn't feel important to me at that moment. So I sit there for, it's not that long, like a few minutes usually, 3 to 5, sometimes 10 minutes, and try to figure out like what's important for me to delve into right now. What's going to help me to learn something? What's going to make me excited to share? What's going to just kind of move some conversation forward, or something that I like to just play with, an idea I'd like to play with and see how I really feel about it. There's all kinds of things all kinds of energy I can put into the writing. So some of it's exploratory, where I am trying to figure something out about myself or about the world, and I don't really have an answer when I start writing. And sometimes there's an idea that I feel strongly about, but I want to get better at expressing it. And so I'll spend some time writing that blog. So it's not necessarily about whether or not people read it, although it is nice when people read it and give feedback. I'm really happy when I get those long comments that are like heartfelt and have all kinds of personal stories and reactions to what I'm writing. But even if I don't get those, there's still a lot of value for me to sit down and go through this, because there's so many stimuli in a day and we don't have a chance to process all these. And sometimes we end up defaulting towards something that is not really that important to us, or we default to something that's just a habit. You know, we have these ideas in our head like it's important to stay up to date with what's going on in the world, but we don't sit back and look at how that makes us feel, when we look at these negative headlines all the time. And we don't separate our emotions about those things that happen from what actually happens. What we read in the paper versus how we feel about what we read in the paper. The tone that other people come at us with when they tell us about something versus the information itself. It's like those are not the same thing, but sometimes it's important to separate those things in order to achieve our optimal kind of state of being, I guess you could say. Even these words that are coming out right now, I don't think I'd be able to say these things if I hadn't done a certain level of just filtering out what's important to me. And to be able to free flow like this, I mean, I'm not doing it that smoothly and that great. There are people who do it much better than me, but comparing myself to 3, 4, 5 or 10 years ago, it's almost incomparable how much easier it is for me to just talk about a certain idea and feel like I'm basically presenting what I want to present and saying the things that I really feel, rather than getting lost in my thoughts and my insecurities. And as you're writing, you start to discover like, oh, I am worried about how this kind of person will feel about this. I'm worried about being attacked for this opinion. I might feel myself start to censor certain things. I don't want to censor myself, but I would like to say things in a way that all the different potential audience that might see it could kind of get an idea of what I'm trying to express, because people with different experiences read things and hear things differently. And I have a very diverse group of friends, and I don't want to choose a team to just kind of isolate myself with. But anyways, so the whole process, there are many, many things about this whole process of blogging that have really helped me to grow. Another aspect of it, which is really special, is that I've been blogging on monetized blockchain social media blogging platforms. You know, at first it was Steam, and then we forked away and we started this platform called Hive, where there's no CEO and no company. It's all run by the community, and now one of the front ends, one of the sites that I've been spending a lot of time on is called inleo, INLEO, and these platforms, because they're monetized, kind of force you to look at things in a different way than the traditional social media, where in general most people don't use Facebook and Instagram with the intention of making money. You can. There are people that try to brand themselves and try to share things, but you know, in Leo or with Hive, the monetization comes immediately. The very first post I made I think it was $21. And I was just like, what? $21 just for sharing self introduction? What? That was not something I was anticipating. It's something that felt like, you know, maybe one day it would be nice to share my ideas and get paid for it, but I wasn't anticipating it to come so quickly. But then because of the way these ecosystems work, it's not consistent, you know. So based on who reads what you write, and based on your relationships and how well a particular article is written and the topic and whether or not it speaks to people, some things get $1 or $2 or less than that. And also there's this people are very welcoming, and so in the beginning they give you a lot of support, but after that you're kind of on your own a little bit for a while until you build up that following. Having the money right at your fingertips and potential rewards always there from the very beginning, and also these platforms having an entire economy built into them, which is pretty rich and exciting. People use the ecosystem very differently depending on the person. There's all kinds of ways to use it. You know, you start to feel like, oh, if I change this, you know, I might get more rewards, or maybe the people here will like me better, and you start to notice these things that you thought you wouldn't do because the dream of making a living from writing or earning money from writing was so far away. Because it's right there, it's not that hard to get these people's attention and to make some money on a post. You start to feel those temptations of what some people might call selling out, you know, I might call selling out. And so in the beginning I found myself writing in ways that I felt would impress certain people, which I never thought I would do. And it's really easy to say you'll never do that when the potential for making that money is so far away. It's really easy to just say, you know, I'd never sell out, I'd never change what I'm doing or change what I'm saying in order to impress people. You know, when somebody gives you $20 for a post that took you 20 minutes to make, or someone gives you $50 for a post that took an hour to make, right when you start, you know, or after a couple weeks or a couple months, it's pretty tempting, you know. And you start to look at yourself and your intentions. There's also the expectations, you know. Once you get a steady income of, I was getting $20 per post for about 8 months, maybe. And I started to expect it. And as soon as the support I was getting faded out because of reasons completely outside of what I was writing, the person that was supporting me leaving the platform, I got pretty frustrated, and it felt like, should I keep doing this? And I started to think like, am I motivated by money? Am I motivated by money? Asking this question and being forced to face this question from different angles in different situations, seeing it from the up and the down, and then just the whole process of going back and forth between wanting to be authentic and wanting to share things that come naturally to you, and then having that carrot waved in front of you where it would be easier to make money if you talked about certain topics, but you don't feel great about talking about those things. Having to ask that constantly really, really helped me grow. In the beginning, I was very idealistic and I wanted to express certain ideas without any consideration for how people read it. And then I moved in the other direction where I considered too much about who was reading and what the potential for rewards were. And then slowly, slowly, I started to find a middle ground where I could do things completely authentically from what I wanted to share, but I could choose which parts, because there's a lot of things going on inside. And there's a lot of different things that we care about and a lot of things that we could talk about. You know, there's a lot of things, each person has a lot of things that they could potentially talk about. All of these different things are authentic and honest, but there are certain ones that we can choose that will connect better. And there's an art to sharing these things in a way that connects, but is honest. And navigating that has been really fun. Sitting down and thinking about who's going to read this, what will they think about it, but then not sacrificing anything that you want to say and managing to keep both of those, I think is a really fun game to play. Coming every day and doing that, there's some things I write where, and sometimes I don't care, I just want to share something. I feel like there are 3 people I know will read this and I don't care if anyone else reads this. There are other days where I feel like I think a lot of people might be interested in what I have to say about this, and then on the one hand I share it hoping that people will read it, but on the other hand I don't get too attached to that idea, and so if nobody ends up reading it, I'm okay. I think I've become a lot more balanced and capable of managing my expectations thanks to that. I've been able to explore all different things thanks to that initial kind of challenging myself to earn more money during that process where I was trying to impress people, pushing myself to edit videos or to do some poetry, which I guess I did when I was young, but I hadn't done recently. I tried sharing the stories that I'd written outside of this blogging platform. I tried narrating things from my life in a kind of fictional writing style. I started the podcast because I thought it might be something that this audience might be interested in. I mean, that's why I like the whole grind. I guess you could say artist grind, but it's also kind of a social media grind. But unlike the traditional social media, I feel like this Web3, you can call it, these platforms that are blockchain based and that have strong communities. As I said, the one I'm using now is inleo.io. Yeah, everything is much more immediate and you really hit the ground running. You could say it that way. There's a lot to learn. It has its own culture and its own kind of standards about what's considered acceptable practice, what's common practice. It's really fun, it's really challenging, and every day I don't get tired of writing. I can do it every day. Today I was torn between writing and doing this video, and the only reason I chose to do the video is because I haven't done one in a while and I wanted to look at myself and challenge myself to come at it with some more energy and to flow a little bit better. And it's fun, Every day I ask myself, what will be the most fun thing to write? And then I go through the questioning process of, what happens if no one reads it? Will I still have fun writing this? Or will I still have fun doing it? And if the answer is no, I won't do it. I'll look for something similar that, will feel good even if no one watches it. If I'm just writing for other people, then there's the expectation that they'll read it, and if they don't read it, I'm disappointed. If I'm writing for myself, then there's the potential that nobody reads it at all, and then there's not really much of a purpose in sharing it. I don't really buy the idea that there's some artists and content creators and they share things and they say they absolutely don't care if anyone else reads it, and I don't really buy that, because if you really don't care, you don't have to share it. You write a song, you don't have to show anyone. There's nothing telling you have to show people this. So I think anyone that's sharing something, whether it's the food they're eating on social media or a novel or a song or the thoughts about the economy or whatever, it's like, regardless of what people say, I think they do hope that somebody reads it or pays attention to it. To be able to balance these two things of authenticity, having fun, having fun is really important when you're doing this. I feel like a lot of people that are in this community I'm in, they let it turn into a job because there is a potential to earn a living from it. Right now it's not a huge potential because it's still a small growing community, and the earning potentials are still growing, but because there is that potential, there is a tendency for people to turn it into a job. But I have found that the less I treat it like a job and the more I treat it like fun, the better I do. The more I earn from it, and it doesn't feel like work at all for me. It's just every day when I have a free hour or free half hour, I just feel like it's time to dig into myself and see what comes out, and it's exciting. It can be healing too, when there are things that you're upset about and you are writing with the intention of cheering yourself up or getting to the root of what's bothering you. That's something I really like to do. I'll pick a topic that is heavy for me or that's hard for me at that moment, and I want to process it and be able to come at it from the most positive angle possible. And a lot of my writing it comes from that intention. So it's like, it's not really about whether people read it or not, although it's nice if people read it. It's nice if I earn money. I hope I earn money. I hope people read it. But regardless, it's a valuable process. It's worth doing, even if nobody reads it, even if I don't earn anything from it. Yeah, if you get a chance, check out these platforms. One more time, you can check out inleo.io, inleo.io. There's short form, there's long form. If you like video, if you want to do video, there's 3speak, the number 3 3speak.tv, I think, is it? Yeah, 3speak.tv. I think that's all I have to say today. I like just kind of going on like this and not having a plan and seeing what comes out. It's all just part of self-discovery, self-exploration. So I hope I have more energy now than I had in the past. I feel like I still got some ways to go, but yeah, we're doing all right.